Hello everyone, and welcome to Mr.
Ojito de agua se secó, ojito de agua se secó.
This is the Caribbean, and here is the Dominican Republic. Now come on, let's go, shall we? The island's initial inhabitants are unknown, but they were overrun by the influx of Arawak throngs from South America, specifically the Taino people, who took over by the mid-7th century. The Taino governed the island with a system of chiefs, 5 chiefdoms, which sustained their states by foraging, farming, and fishing. There were 7 centuries of this simple sort of life, until they were invaded by the island Caribs, who were still harassing the Taino when Columbus and co. arrived in 1492 and claimed the island, which they named Hispaniola, for Spain. The first Spanish colony was wiped out by the natives, so another was set up south in 1496 called Santo Domingo, which would become the capital. While the natives had demonstrated hostility to the newcomers, they were steadily silenced by introduced sicknesses, which reduced their numbers considerably. The Spanish also intermarried with the Taino women, and eventually there were no full-blood Taino left. Nonetheless, we still use Taino words. From barbecue and potato to canoe and tobacco, slaves were shipped over to plant and harvest sugar, but as Spain explored more of the Americas, they essentially abandoned the island in favor of more resource-rich regions, so Hispaniola languished in depopulated neglect and backwardness. By the mid-1600s, the French began snooping about the western bit, and took formal control in 1697. This would become Haiti. In the years that followed, there were all sorts of raids and attacks. Spain handed over the capital to France in 1795, and when the slaves of Haiti overthrew their French masters, they took control of Santo Domingo in 1801, which France regained the following year, and Spain got back in 1809. Though Spain had its colony again, it was in worse shape than ever, and their rule was unsteady, and in 1821, José Nunez de Casares declared independence, which lasted 2 months, as the Haitians invaded and conquered it. The Dominican people hated their Haitian overlords, who treated them very poorly for all their alleged championing of liberty. Juan Pablo Duarte secretly began cooking up plans for independence, something Dominicans achieved in 1844, with Pedro Santana as first president. But Haiti hadn't given up yet and invaded in 1849, forcing Santana to face them again, crushing the enemy and then ordering raids on Haiti itself as payback. Santana oversaw more victories against Haiti, but war's steep expense bankrupted the nation, as had the rule of this guy, who enriched himself in a scheme that left everyone else struggling with mass inflation. Santana arranged a deal to put Spain back in charge, but this proved unpopular to many, and in the Restoration War that followed, the Dominican people were triumphant and Spain withdrew. The country did a lot better under this guy. New irrigation canals were dug, meaning heightened food production, roads were built, and Cuban investors sweetened the economy with modern sugarcane production. But the president was corrupt and ended up assassinated, leaving behind a Himalayan amount of debt. European nations that had loaned money now threatened to invade, but US President Teddy Roosevelt warded them off, taking over the Dominican customs house in what's called dollar diplomacy. Dominican leadership remained unstable and chaotic, however, and the Americans decided to take the wheel completely, and did so in 1916. US occupation was resented by the Dominicans, but American administration saw the debt decrease, the budget brought back on balance, and the economy on a better footing than before. The US ended its occupation in 1924, and Dominicans settled back in the driving seat. But the Americans left behind the sport of baseball, which the Dominicans became obsessed with. It's the most popular sport there today, and the country has produced many star players. In the 3 decades after 1930, the Dominican Republic was dominated by one man, Rafael Trujillo. He did what many dictators tend to do: rename the capital after himself, violently suppress his opponents, censor the media, and adorn the city with statues of himself. Trujillo was a control freak. Everything had to conform to his will. He also disliked Haitians and had many thousands of them slaughtered in El Corte. Still, the country under his rule was stable. The economy grew, and infrastructure and healthcare were improved. You just had to be careful not to criticize or oppose the regime, or the secret police would very likely ensure that you would never do anything ever again. By 1960, Trujillo had gone too far. Not only did he have these conspiring sisters strangled and bludgeoned to death, but he also attempted to assassinate the president of Venezuela. The US finally imposed sanctions on the Dominican Republic, and Trujillo was assassinated soon after. This guy was elected president, but the military soon toppled him, and the country entered into civil war. The US feared the communists would seize power, so they sent in their marines and army, until a nice, non-communist authoritarian was securely in power. Better times arrived with Leonel Fernandez, and under his successor the economy continued to boom. The Dominican Republic today has achieved a high level of human development, and possesses the Caribbean's biggest economy, a lot of it driven by tourism. It is, after all, the most visited country in the Caribbean. Visitors enjoy the vibrant culture, wealth of natural delights, and historical treasures, like the oldest cathedral in the Americas. But what awaits the Dominican Republic in the future? Comment below, but for now, bye-bye!